Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the mayor, Heath Sheeran, and the host of this podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm pumped you're here hanging out because I got my friend Jay coming in to hang out with us today, and he's got a really cool story to tell. But before we get into that, I can't wait to introduce you to my sponsors today. Number one, and again, no particular order, I'd love to talk to you about my friends over at OneFort. They are AI for insurance agencies. Save time and win more commercial P&C by automating submissions, quoting, and binding with AI. OneFort makes your life smarter, faster, and easier by automating workflows to reduce costs and boost efficiency with AI-powered quoting and servicing to help you close faster. Finally, you can offload manual work and focus on growing your book. They've already saved agencies over 10 or 100,000 hours. Sorry. It's just unbelievable. You got to check out my friends over at onefort.ai. And also my good friends over at Canopy Connect. They've been with me since the jump. They are the one-click solution to getting deck pages that you need to quote your prospects. And they also have the intake platform, and they also can help you get loss runs and driver lists and property information. You name it, they can help you get that. And if you're not using them, I don't know what you're doing. Go to usecanopy.com/Heath. Get your discount, get your demo, all the things. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need a call center. Just use MAV. Go to hiremav.com. They are the AI-powered insurance expert that manages unlimited leads with friendly text to qualify, quote, and connect prospects to agents. Traditional call centers don't work anymore. You hate running a call center. Your leads hate getting calls from a call center. Launch in days for a fraction of the costs. MAV's trained in different vetted playbooks that you don't even have to think of it. They do it for you. So go to HireMav, check it out. And ladies and gentlemen, I am going to get out of the way. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I've got my man Jay hanging out in the background, and so I'm ready to bring him in. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jay Wolfberg. Jay, jump on in here, buddy. How you doing, my man?
Hey, Heath, I'm great. How are you?
Man, I am really good. I'm glad that our friend Robert was able to introduce us, and just hearing his his introduction to you and how we should meet was just it was fascinating. So I was like, man, I'd love to hear from this guy. So, how's your world treating you? Where are you coming out of? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm originally from Connecticut, but I've been down in South Florida, so the Palm Beach area for 18 years now. So
I don't feel sorry for you at all. Moving from Connecticut to South Florida, man, that sounds fun.
Yeah. One of my happiest days was selling that snowblower. Yeah, and moving down to Sunshine.
You actually had a snowblower.
Yeah. Well, I started with a shovel, then I grew into the snowblower.
You almost had to do that, I imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's really funny. Well, good, man. So what made you go to Florida? I have to know.
So my wife is originally from down here, so that's the real reason. Her family was here.
Okay.
We had two young babies at the time, and we were just ready for a big change. And that seasonal depression is a real thing.
Oh,
dude.
it
is not fun in the winter. Yeah,
I hear you. So, but now you don't get but one season. Is it always hot there?
Yeah, it's there's seasons. It's hot and then hotter and then the hottest. Goes like
right on.
more goes like that. And it seems like the hottest season, the summer, is getting longer and longer. So it used to be you can make it to June. You'd be all right. Now it's mid-April starts to sweat, and then now we're May, and it's already getting brutal down here.
Oh gosh!
But it's paradise. October, November, December, January. It's pretty nice down here then.
Oh heck yeah! Well, dude, now that we're already kind of getting into it, I'd love to hear your story a little bit and let the audience hear. Let's take a quick walk down memory lane. Give me 2 or 3 minutes on just how you got to where you are today and what your story's been about, man.
Sure, absolutely. So like I said, originally from Connecticut, so grew up, right outside of Hartford. I kind of tell the story looking out my bedroom window, looking up at these giant Travelers Tower and Hartford Tower, and it's for 200 years the center of the insurance world. So I get asked a lot how'd you get into insurance? And I was just born into it, right? Just like right down the street there. So long story short, went off to college, came back home, not graduated, did a bunch of different odd jobs. My favorite one, probably manager of a Radio Shack. So that was just a ton of fun dealing with customers. Yeah.
Now, it would be even better if you went from Radio Shack to Blockbuster.
I was just going to say, I just saw a meme that said, no one can ever verify if you worked at Radio Shack, Blockbuster, and then they just added Spirit Airlines, of course, to the meme now too. So, so anyway, jumped around doing that, which was great, and then had a young baby, and just retail hours is just brutal. So decided to get in when I was fighting it and get into insurance. So my first gig up there was with the Hartford. Jumped in a huge call center there, 300 people, direct to consumer sales. So in 45 different states. So customers are calling in, and you're just selling them home and auto policies. What I liked about that was they're never the cheapest. So it really teaches you how to sell something valuable, right? And I think that kind of, in any sales job, everyone shops on price and everybody buys on value. So it's really interesting to be forced into learning that when your product is just almost never the most cost effective, right? So that was kind of cool. Did that for a couple of years, and then we got tired of the cold. We packed up whatever we could into one of those pods. If it didn't fit in the pod, we sold it, and we moved down to Florida. I had a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old at the time. So now they're 19 and 17. One just finished her freshman year at college. So moved down to Florida, no job, no plans. Moved in with my in-laws. Our plan was to stay there as long as possible so that we could, save a bunch of money and buy a house. We made it 6 weeks. I'm super proud of that number. That was a very long 6 weeks, but they're great people. And I jumped in on the claim side, which for anyone that's been on the claim side, I don't recommend that. It is not fun. And I ran a company, my first franchise experience, a company called Puro Clean, was doing sales for them. And that's basically water, fire, and mold damage. So your water heater blows up. We'd go out and clean up the water, clean up the mold, clean up, if there's fire damage, whatever the case may be. And that was the last thing I did before what I've been doing for the last, 15 years, whatever it's been now. So it's been a long run in what I'm doing. And that started as just a regular insurance agency. So I opened a Weinsure, which is a franchise. It's an independent agent model. And I quit that job at Puro Clean. I bought my first Florida home, and I bought this franchise all in the same week and just ground it out. Built that agency from zero to currently I met an amazing business partner along the way. He owns and operates it now. That business is about a $32 million book of business. So big book of business, mostly Florida, personal lines, home and auto. And he runs and operates that. And then about 2.5 years, almost 3 years ago now, our parent company, which I can tell you more about if you're interested, but they asked me to come in and kind of right the ship and run the ship. And so my official title now is president. Most of my day, and what I'm really super passionate about, is bringing on new franchises, bringing in young people into this industry, because I think this is the most misunderstood industry. So that's where I'm spending most of my day now, is just talking to people who are looking at, opening up an agency. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Dude, you said a lot there that I would love to get into. But, I guess going back to, one of the things you talked about was the people, a lot of people buy on price, or I forgot how you said that.
Shop on price. Yeah, people shop on. It's one of my favorite. Shop on price and buy on value.
I love that because if you've ever listened to the episodes, and those that are listening now and heard me say this for 6 years now, is, if you're selling on price alone, then you're in the wrong spot, because you've got to sell on value. I'm a big value guy. I've spoken on stages all over the country about value add selling and making sure that you bring value to the table. And so I love that you started off selling for a company that wasn't the cheapest, and that you had to learn how to sell on value and sell on, sell on personality, sell on family, sell on whatever that value add was. And so take me back a little bit back to, you said it was Hartford. Tell me a little bit back in those days. What was it that you had to, how did you figure out what your value add was, and how did you do it? Because a lot of people can't do that, especially when you're in the days of 15 minutes or less can save you 15% or more. And it's like, not to bang on the person that I will not name that uses that slogan, but it's become kind of a training for a lot of our clients that come through. Like, they expect to get cheap insurance because they've seen it, or there's all these commercials out there of, I saved all this money. So anyhow, all that to say, tell me, like, what did you find and how'd you find that?
Yeah. So I think I love to hear when people are aligned with that for sure. So yeah, and I totally agree with your statement there that especially on the auto side, this thing has been so commoditized. That's like, people have companies and the one you didn't name there and a couple other big ones have just spent billions and billions of dollars just to ingrain that in the brain of the American consumer, that the only thing that matters is saving that money, that the policy is secondary to that, which is just awful. Especially when you talk about something like insurance, which, on the auto side, required by law, of course, protects your liability. And on the home side, like for most people, and for me included, like the biggest asset I have is my house. Like I want to protect this thing the right way. I don't want to just, buy a piece of paper and not know what the hell it does for me. So the value add, I think, is a couple of things. So you hit it right on the head with personality and the person and building that relationship. No matter how much people try, no matter how much AI comes into the workplace, this will, in my opinion, always be a relationship business. So relationship number one. And then number two is you have to have a product that makes sense, and you have to really know your audience. So with the Hartford, this was their program. Now it's available through agents. Back then it was direct only, and it was partnered with the AARP. So the advertising was very similar to get them to call in. So like in the AARP magazine back then, or a postcard you get, it says call in for your free calculator, call in for your free tote bag. And my grandma and every little old lady on the planet, I like my tote bag. I'm like, well, you got to get a quote first, right? So it's really just such an interesting lead in. And then the product was cool, and it still is a cool product at the time because it's really geared towards the older population. So, if for example, if you're 75 years old getting insurance, what are you afraid of on your car insurance? That they're going to cancel you? You're going to have an accident, they're going to cancel you. You're never going to get insurance again. You lose all your freedom. Back then there was no such thing as Uber. So like, what are you doing? Taking a cab around? I mean, it was freaking brutal. So they had an option on the policy that was included where they would never cancel it. Like no matter what happened. Now they would raise the price, of course, but they would never cancel it. So I think knowing your audience is such an important skill set, and then kind of lining up the value prop, of course, with who they are and what they need.
Well, and so I love to hear that, and you figured some of that out. And then when you went and built your agency to the 30 plus million in premium, you had to figure that out again. Obviously, different audience, I'm sure. And what was that for you? Did you go through some sort of exercise to find that out, or did you get really intentional on that, or did you find a niche that you liked? What did you do there? And maybe you didn't have a niche. Maybe it was just like, we figured out in our agency we were going to do this thing really well. What was that for you?
Yeah, so that last part is 100% it. So we just figured out the one thing to do really well, and what we call it now over here on the business side is hyper-responsiveness, right? So we are just, if you just reply to a customer, I mean, I just did a LinkedIn post on this where I hired a guy. You could text or email this guy 24/7, and in 15 minutes you're getting a reply. Now the reply may be like, give me a day, I'll get back to you, whatever it is. But these customers always feel ignored, especially in insurance. It's not fun. You're not bringing home your shiny new policy to put it in your driveway. It's not a puppy. Like it's not exciting, right? So how can we make it a little less miserable, right? Like I would almost describe it like that intensely. So really just over communicate with these customers and be hyper responsive. And that put us at the top of the pack almost every single time. I mean, most people are just simply not doing that.
Yeah. And it's funny you put it that way, because again, I talk to agencies all over the country, and I hear the same thing when I ask them, what makes you different from the rest of the competition, or from the guy down the street, or in most cases even next door sometimes. What makes you different? What sets you apart? And they always say the same two words: customer service. But the way you put it was in a way of hyper responsiveness, and you put it in a way of communicating better, and communicating in a way that makes them feel seen and heard, and makes them feel different. Go ahead. You're shaking your head already.
Yeah, no, I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah, absolutely. So, um, I think it's just especially, it was funny because I know a couple of your sponsors on the AI and the tech side, and so valuable, so important to have all of that and to use all of that. I know Canopy Connect, like it's great stuff, but it's, in my opinion, it's designed to supplement the agent, right? So now you can provide better customer service. And so customer service for me is like such a broad term. And I think probably the people you travel around talking to, like that's their crutch, right? Oh, I have better customer service, but like, what does that mean, right? Like that's I think why we
1,000%.
try to
And
define
every
it.
time I ask
Yeah,
them that, they kind of give me this blank stare of like, it just means that we treat people well, and we get back to people when they ask us for a certificate, or when they need an ID card, or if they need to file a claim. It's like, you're just an order taker at that point. You're not really, like, what are you doing proactively, or what have you done to go beyond just picking up the phone and answering when they call, and XYZ agency, this is so and so, how can I help you? I mean, whatever it might be. No, like, to me, true customer service goes beyond just reactive.
right. Yeah, you got to be proactive. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, being hyper responsive, obviously some of that is reactive in the true nature of that. But and again, I'm sure with you guys found a way to be proactive in your communication, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think, again, it's just a balance with a customer. Like, no, they're not excited when the phone rings and they see their insurance agent is calling them, right? Again, it's a pretty boring industry as far as, and super important, but again, just not exciting. So I think finding that balance of when to reach out to the customer, how to reach out to them, and really just leaving them alone, unless like there's something we can offer them and we can talk about, and just kind of, we almost want to, I would kind of describe it how we built it as, we want to create the ability for the customer to be super proactive with us, right? So it's not that I'm reaching out to the customer, every 90 days and, hey, do you want to buy something else from me, or at renewal we should reshop your policy. It's really setting the stage up front to say, listen, Mr. Customer, I'm your insurance agent. I'm the last freaking agent you're ever going to need for your entire life. You just call one phone number. I will answer that phone. You can text me, whatever you need to do, anytime anything insurance related comes up. So you have a life-changing event. You have a kid turns 16 for a car. They're going off to college. You're buying a new house. You're buying an investment property. You're buying one of these toys, a boat, an RV, whatever it is. I'm here for you. All you got to do is call. I'd rather you ask me something about insurance that I can't help you with, and I'll point you in the right direction, right? I don't do health insurance, but you could ask me and I'll refer you to a great health insurance guy. So how can we really create the customer to be proactive with us, right? That's kind of the vision, to say, listen, you're going to get the renewal before I even see it. And if the price went up, down, left, right, you just call me and we'll reshop it right away. And just putting like a little bit of that onus on them. And I don't know, I found it's almost like they're bought into the process a little bit more that way. And it's a little less boring, a little more interesting. They feel involved, which is nice. And they should be involved. These are big decisions they're making.
Yeah, and so throughout, and again, I'm impressed you built up, the size of the agency that you built up, and I'm assuming from what you're saying, and as my wife would say, when you assume, you know what that means. But majority of that is personal lines driven, and home, auto, umbrella, boats, toys, things like that. And so, one of the things as you build that, obviously, it goes beyond just you at that point. I know you mentioned a partner, which I want to get into. But as you bring on staff and other producers and whatnot, was this, not scripting necessarily, but was this some sort of scripting that you instilled into them and your team with this whole, like you said, the process and the formula that you found? Is that something that, or did you give them the freedom to, as long as they, were hyper responsive, they could handle their own. Was it specific to the, again, it's a shitty question, but I'm trying to figure out how to get it out there, but you get what I'm getting at.
I get it. Yeah. So it was not.
You would think after 350 of these, I'd figure out how to ask a damn question, but I'm struggling here, man. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. It was never with us. It was never formal around like, here's the script, here's what you read. And I'll give you a good example. So we were, and I thought you were going in this direction with it at first, but that agency we built.
I don't know where I was going with it. I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't. So you take it where you need to, brother.
Perfect. What was cool about the agency is it was 100% referral based, right? So we were not buying leads, we're not advertising out there in the community. And so one of the most important things we trained on was how to ask for those referrals, right? And the timing. So there's stuff in that, to your point, it is scripted, right? The timing of when you ask for that referral, the way that you're asking for it. But then I want my people to put their personality into it, right? So like if they like to tell a funny joke, if they like to laugh about whatever it is, like that has to come through naturally, or it's just not authentic. And I would never want to hire people and run sales teams that just aren't authentic like that. So it's this combination of kind of like giving almost like a framework of what we want, and then letting them within reason, come up with their own little fun spin on it, or their own little, character on it. So they're super comfortable saying it, so it doesn't sound like it's, being read off of a script. So I think that was the biggest piece. And then a lot of what we talk about and what we've talked about today is like, these are just values, right? Like being hyper responsive is more like a value than it is like a sales, training tool. So hiring those people, my favorite people we hired, no insurance experience. One of the most successful guys I ever hired, 3rd generation baker, right? His grandfather was baking cakes, and it just brought him in, and super, super successful, right? Millions of dollars a year in premium, and just a good guy that likes to talk to people. And we taught him the insurance end, right? So it's fun stuff like that for sure.
Dude, that's awesome. And so, if you don't mind, could you dig in a little bit about, and this is not anything I know that we talked about, again, we just met, but can you tell me a little bit more about, that hiring part of that, and like how you bring people in as you're growing a team? And I know you said you like to bring in young people and you're looking forward to, and you like to grow your franchise and getting more people involved in the industry. But, back in your agency days, what was that for you? How did you go about finding talent? That's the biggest thing that I hear, throughout the last 22 years of my career is I got to find new talent. I got to find producers. I got to find new CSR, a new account executive. Was there a formula that you found for that?
I wish I had cracked that in a super productive way where I had like a line of people out the door.
We got to edit button if we need to, but I do want to hear like if there was anything that you guys did though.
Yeah. So what we did, so again, it's so much like personality in this business that like everything we did to find people was friends of a friend, right? It was so much of that in the business. It was so much of, I'm at Dunkin' Donuts. This is another good story. Like I'm at Dunkin' Donuts, and then I get great customer service, and I give the guy a card and say, "You ever looking for a career change, man? Let me know." Right? Like it's your waiter or waitress at a restaurant. So for me, if you're too formulaic with it, like I'm gonna go post on LinkedIn, or I'm gonna go to monster.com and put an ad in. What we did that too, right? We made plenty of mistakes, and I would put that in line with mistakes we made. It feels almost like a little recycled, like it's the same freaking people over and over again, just running in circles in this industry. So like that's not exciting, that's not fun. So to answer your question, it's a ton of just a friend of a friend, personal referrals, and then meeting people that provide great customer service. Another great spot, and I travel a lot, so in the airports, the guys that or women that are selling the Delta credit card. So there's a kiosk and they're trying to get you to buy the Delta credit card. These are amazing salespeople. They are freaking relentless, just like walking up to random strangers. So, there's to me, find a good salesperson and teach them insurance. That would be like how I would draw that one out.
Yeah, dude, I love that. And then in fact, I was at an event recently, and it was actually at a casino. Part of the event was, and I'm not a big gambler, but I went to the event, whatever, and I was sitting there talking to a guy, and he's working on trying, and he wasn't even at the event I was at. I just, was ordering a drink, and he was sitting there at a machine. And he looked over at me, and he was trying to sell me life insurance and going through this thing, and I thought it was great. And so I was listening to him, going through the whole thing, and I was like, man. So again, we got to talking about things, and I was like, where'd you come? How'd you get in the insurance business? I'm in the insurance business. Crazy that we're meeting here, and I'm at an insurance conference. You're just here with your family, selling me insurance at a casino at night. And he told me that he came from outside the industry. He was recruited by someone in the insurance space. Was like, hey, you do really good at this. And he was like, I've led my region for the last like 3 years in life sales. Wow. I can't remember who it was, but or what company he was with at the time. But he had said he came from like Chick-fil-A or something, like some fast food industry. And he was just telling me, maybe it's Arby's. But anyway, it was just funny that you say that, and I've heard that so many times. And he was a rock star. Like, I almost bought life insurance from him right then and there. You could never have too much, And my wife always said, yeah, the more you get, the better for me. But yeah, so to your point, I do think that's fascinating. And I've heard the Chick-fil-A before, and I've heard, fast food restaurants, Dunkin' Donuts, whatnot. So I think that's great. But to actually have that happen to me, and a life insurance guy, I got to talk to him. And he's like, I came from this other industry. But anyway, it was just funny. Okay, so again, going back to some of your, your formulas, your processes, your timelines, things of that nature. Talk to me a little bit about that, and the timeline that works, and things of that nature, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as like growing and scaling the business, and I'd probably apply this to any business that I get involved with. It's, you really got to become an expert first. So when I opened this agency, I had sold insurance in 40 plus different states, but I'd never sold a Florida home policy before, right? So like learning to become an expert in that, in a crazy market down here, that it always is. So really like learning and honing your craft first, before you even think about hiring and scaling. For me, I would just, if I don't have all the answers and know where to find them, that just seems like an awkward conversation with someone I'm hiring, like that's working for me, like where I don't know the answer. So I never wanted to be put in that position. So learning it first, and then really building, as we built, me and my business partner built these processes and the flow out, we always tried to keep in mind what happens when it's not just me and you, right? What happens when it's more than us? What happens when there's 10 people in here doing this? Does the process still work, or does the whole freaking machine break, right? So if you get too down and too committed to something and it doesn't scale properly, it's just a freaking nightmare to unwind it. So we always tried to have that lens. And then like a trigger for us was really just these referral sources. So like we didn't hire anyone until we were too busy, right? And the two of us were just, working 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week on, we can only keep this up for so long, and let's keep burning the candle on both ends, and let's hire somebody, right? And then that person becomes busy, and it's the same type of thing. And then the three of us are all very busy, and then 4 of us and 5 of us, and before you know it, I'm selling less and less policies, and I'm managing 4 or 5 people that are selling policies. So it just kind of naturally transitioned. And I would, in this business, which is such heavy residual income, for me, it was all about just building that engine. So I made the same money from like year 3 to like year 8. All I did was just dump that money back into this business. And then all of a sudden it hit and was like, oh my, to your gambling point, it was like, holy shit, I think I won the lottery here. This is crazy. And then it just, at this point, there's an office manager in place. It runs itself. My business partner works, 5 hours a month, and the agency is still cranking out millions and millions a year in premium. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. So tell me, you brought up a business partner a couple of times, and I'm a big, fan of partnerships and hearing about those kind of things. And obviously, he's still doing running the business for you in the local thing, in the Florida business thing. But tell me about partnership to you, what that meant to you. If you want to tell me, about your partner there, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I agree. Like, a successful partnership can be the best thing ever. The flip side of that is a terrible partnership can be the worst thing ever. So I actually started with a different partner, and I should have caught the red flag. I don't tell this story a lot, but the red flag was he wanted to work the night shift, which I didn't know there was a night shift in insurance. So I should have I should have probably at that point said, wait a minute, something is not right here.
Right.
I better, yeah. So that was a disaster for 8 months of my life. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what makes the wrong partner, right? And then really blessed enough to just randomly run into this current partner of mine, and consider him like my best friend. And he was coming on board to Weinsure. I had already owned a franchise. He was buying a franchise. He had this weird 6-week gap between when he bought the franchise and when the training was. So he was just looking to sit with someone and train. We were local, and we trained. Or I trained him for 6 weeks about what we were doing. Then he went off and he opened his thing, and then everything started falling apart with my partner. He said, why don't you just come work out of here? You don't have to commute all the way to that other office. Just come work out of here. You can have your franchise. I'll have mine. And
so both
the long story, we both owned
agencies.
Individual franchises. Yes.
Yeah. So you both had different agencies, and then you just merged your agencies together.
Yeah, so I basically walked away from the old one, right? And essentially joined his, right? So my business partner that didn't work out, he took that agency. Hey, buddy, good luck with your night shift. That's all you. And
right.
And what had happened was, I remember it being like November and December, and we said to each other, like, all right, if we're writing, $50,000 a month in premium each, and let's try to work together and see what happens. And if we can do that, and instead of writing 100,000, we write 150, like, we know, like, this is a good partnership. We wrote something crazy, like 270,000 in premium together. He was a relentless phone guy, dial for dollars, talking to people, customers. And I actually, despite how much I now enjoy talking, was all quoting, all underwriting, everything behind the scenes. And to me, that was such a fun time because it was like solving a puzzle, right? Like, I'd get this policy, and how do I beat it? And how do I get the pricing right and the coverage is right? And we have all these new companies to choose from. And how do I do that? So that was super exciting. But the two of us working together like that, we just found this groove and just ran with it. And now all these years later, it's just been, we were just fast friends. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so it sounds like in your partnership, as you came together in your different styles, I mean, did the partnership work better because you stayed in your lane, he stayed in his lane, and y'all kind of found? Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Our person, like, and I think it's a pretty rare thing, and that's, I think, why, and like what you said, like, where these partnerships really work well, like, it's pretty rare that they work super well, and when they do, they really hit, right? So just our personalities just meshed, where I stayed in my lane, he stayed in his. He would defer to me for what I was an expert in. I would defer to him. We had no ego about it. I don't even think I can remember a time where we had like an argument, which is, you know how it is. I'm married too. Like, there's way more arguments in my house than there are at work. So it's just crazy that we just years and years and years of just getting along and just, focused on the business. And it really, I think it's pretty rare. It's definitely a special thing. It happens probably less than people would imagine, I guess.
No, I would agree with you 100%. And so, and I just think there's so many people that get into bad partnerships, as you mentioned earlier. And then, like you said, the ones that find the right one. And I love that you guys brought your businesses together, and, like you said, leaned into your own styles and how things worked for you guys. And so that's pretty exciting. And it's definitely a unique situation for you guys to come together, and you are both successful in your own right. So I find that fascinating. And so I got a couple other things I want to get into before we jump off here. But one of the things I saw, it may have been a LinkedIn post, or may have been something that was said to me, maybe our friend that introduced us, Samuel L. Jackson of insurance. What's that about?
So I did a podcast a couple of months ago, and this story came up, and I hadn't told this story in probably 15 years, and somehow these guys dragged it out of me. So that was my nickname at the Hartford. So this is so it's Pulp Fiction related. So really, I was doing sales. Look at this, inbound call center sales. I was number one on the team, And I won't say it on your podcast so it doesn't get censored, but really that wallet and what was on his wallet in that movie, that bad MF. So it was really that. And then, these guys that I worked with, it's a fun, young, vibrant call center. They're putting, photos of him in my cubicle and like the Bible verse in there and, all of that. So it just became my nickname the entire time I I was there. So it was really when Pulp Fiction was like a cult classic at that point. So it was just a fun time to be, young and in the industry.
Yeah. My wife and I, she's a big movie buff and so am I, but we grew up with, different movies that we loved. And there's so many times we'll be talking about movies and she'll be like, I've never seen that one. Or I'll be like, I've never seen that. I was like, you've never seen whatever. And so like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we were talking about Pulp Fiction and she was like, oh my gosh, you've never seen Pulp Fiction? And I was like, no, I know the references, but I've never seen it. And so she made me sit down and watch it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I've watched it 2 or 3 times since then. And it's like
That's
an
great.
annual tradition now. And she's like, I cannot believe it. The other day she made me watch Legends of the Fall, which I'd never seen before. I was like, oh my gosh. Like there's so many movies that like are
so many.
I grew up like
so much content overload.
Yeah, I grew up with like dumb comedy movies that I loved, like the Chris Farley movies and Billy Madison and like Happy Gilmore and like dumb Adam
also
Sandler.
Great. Also great
well,
movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I just my stupid, taste in movies as a kid was like stupid comedy movies. And so she was like, you missed out on a bunch of great movies just focusing on that. But I just wanted to laugh till I wet my pants as a kid growing up. I didn't care about drama movies or action necessarily back then. But now my taste has grown quite a bit. But anyhow, no, I love the Pulp Fiction, and I think that's great. I just wondered that it's just an interesting. I've heard there's another lady in the industry that's a friend of mine, and she calls herself the Beyonce of insurance. And so,
all right,
that's funny. So now I got the Samuel L. Jackson, and I've interviewed the Beyonce of insurance too. So, anyhow, back to regularly scheduled programming. Tell me. You've mentioned a franchise, and I've heard of different franchise models in the insurance industry, and some work, some don't. Some are fantastic, some are not. Some, are very revered in the industry. I would love to hear a little bit about, your. You said you're president of Weinsure, so I would love to hear a little bit more. If you would like to, just give me a few minutes about what it is and. If you wanted to share with the audience, maybe there's somebody out there looking for something like that.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's I think it's a pretty unique thing. There is competition out there for sure. So the way we describe it, we have just for context, we have about 140 franchises all over the country, a ton in Florida, and then all over the Southeast and Texas and the Carolinas and Kentucky and Pennsylvania and Colorado and all over the place. And the model really at the core of it, it takes a really unique person to want to do it. And so the premise of the model is the agent, the franchisee, the agency owner, their job is to sell, right? Their job is to find the customer and sell the policy. Once that is done, right, they tie it up in a little bow and they give it to our corporate team. And we do all of the service work behind the scenes. We do that 2 ways. One is customer facing with our traditional customer service center, and one is agent facing. We have an agent hotline. It's like the bat phone. You just pick it up, you get someone on the line. Hey, I need to run 7 different variations of these endorsements and add these 3 different vehicles, and they do all the behind the scenes work. So what's cool is it allows you to scale a lot faster, right? So that piece of it is number one. Number two, the corporate end does all the shit that I personally hate doing, right? So I don't want to open mail. I don't want to be reconciling commissions. I don't want to be negotiating with carriers for higher, bonuses and higher commissions and whatever else. I just want to talk to customers and sell policies and save them money, give them great value. Ideally both those things. And so the model really just empowers you to be able to do that. So you don't get bogged down. The first year is easy, right? There's not a lot of service, until the renewals start to hit. So I think it's pretty neat, but you have to want that, right? Like there's people we talk to, and I talk to people every single day about coming on board with us. And there's people we talk through it, and I go, dude, I just don't see you in this. You come from a captive agency where you're used to having, it took you 10 years, you built $1 million book of business in 10 years. You just handhold all your customers all day long, every day, and just keep that's not really our model, right? Like we want people to be able to have this explosive level growth. And that's why I use the word empower, because that's what we're really trying to do, is to get them to be able to live that lifestyle and move it. The insurance industry is all about residual income, right? It's all about renewal income. And what I tell people is, this is, in my humble opinion, as close as you can get to passive residual income before you cross that sketchy line into like multi-level marketing, scams out there, where it's like, because the corporate team is doing so much of that renewal work, so much of that back end work, you're just focused on new business, that income becomes really passive, which is obviously an awesome way to live your life.
So you still let them get paid on renewals and the new business, right?
Yeah, they get new business and renewals. We pay more on one of the first things I did when I came in here 3 years ago is we increased that renewal commission. It's better than the competition. And I always tell people, like, we pay 5% more on renewals than the competition, than the big competition does. And I always tell people, like, is that going to buy you a beach house? Like, probably not. Is it going to lease you a Bentley? It might, right? It's very possible that's going to be $4,000 a month one day, like, if you build this thing the right way. So it's real money.
It's a lot in renewals. It's a lot compounding over, that many clients, that many years down the road. I mean, 5% can be a game changer in that. And, again, as you grow your book. So no, I respect that. I do also think, that there's a big difference, and I talked to a lot of people on this, and the difference in that hunter-gatherer producer mindset and a business owner, agency owner mindset. And it sounds like you guys, you're looking for business owners, but it's that producer, it's that hunter that loves to sell, which is a lot of agency owners. And they don't really good at the back end stuff. And you guys take that back end stuff for them. And so they can still be the hunter. They can still be the gatherer. They can still be that go get them and not have to worry about the operational back end renewal type stuff. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of our most successful people were producers who were building somebody else's business, right? That were just like, I'm tired of watching this guy buy boats and Ferraris and whatever they're doing. I want to do this. And that you don't need the traditional business owner skill set
you don't need
to
a
jump into
it. From Hartford, or you don't need a master's in business, to have to do this. Like, I think that's an interesting play on that, and it takes a burden off if you're handling some of that operational stuff.
Yeah, that's really like the core of it with any kind of franchise, right? So like we figured out the 1,000 ways not to do it, so that we can just tell you the one way that works. And I always like tell this story about, it's like if you buy a McDonald's franchise, like you don't go, you go in and Ronald McDonald tells you how to build the quarter pounder, right? Bun on the bottom, then burger.
Right.
You don't go in and go, no, Ronald, lettuce goes first, and then I put the cheese on. Like, you already figured it out. Why are you trying to mess with something that works? So that's kind of our mentality here. But we also, to one of our very earlier points about training people, is we want that personality to shine through, right? So we want that business owner, that entrepreneur, like the franchise is in the community. The reason people are buying insurance from them instead of the 800 number is because they're their kid's t-ball coach. They're on the PTA together. Like, this is all about community and relationships. So it's super important that we allow them and their personalities to shine through, right? It's not robotic. It's not everything must be this very specific way. We give a ton of flexibility around it.
And so two quick questions, and we're going to wrap up. Weinsure, every agency out there and across the country is called Weinsure? Or are they allowed to be the Wolfberg agency, a Weinsure company, or the Sharon agency, or the Insurance Town, whatever it might be? How does that work? Are they required to keep that Weinsure name only?
So it's not only. So the Weinsure name is just obviously so simplistic and so powerful. So I'll give you my example. So my business partner's name was Jay, right? And my name is also Jay. So we were Weinsure, 2J's Insurance Group, right? So it's just like that. And so the Weinsure, and you can see it up there. That's our old logo, and the new one on my shirt here. That's like kind of the powerful up front. But then there's always, and it's normally their name. Most people like enjoy that piece of it. So we definitely allow that flexibility for sure.
Yeah. And then for those that are, thinking about this, or, they're in the personal line space, like you said, they may have grown a good book, or maybe they're just looking to get into the industry and like, I don't know how to run a business. I just want to sell some insurance. I see the value. How would they find you? How would they find Weinsure? Is there a website they can go to? Is there a form fill? Like, where would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so super easy. So the website, weinsuregroup.com. And then I think what most people will find will be surprised about is how accessible I am. So it's JAY@weinsuregroup.com. People are going to shoot me an email. I obviously personally respond to my own emails. And I just love talking to people and finding out, is it a good fit? Is it not a good fit? I learn something new every time. And that's a lot of fun for me. So yeah, anyone interested, I'd love to have a chat for sure.
Yeah, I love that. You will tell people, and you'll help them to realize maybe it's not a good fit for you. Maybe you like being a business owner. Maybe you like coming up with those processes and helping the renewal to flows and building workflows and doing all those things. Great. But if you just want to hunt and gather and and sell and be a quickly growing producer, whatnot, this is a good fit. I love that you say that, because I think there's value in that, in turning people away and saying maybe it's not a good fit for you, and you're going to set them on their right path instead of putting a round peg in a square peg round. There it is.
Either way.
Yeah. But anyhow, brother man, I appreciate you. I'm glad that we were connected. And ladies and gentlemen that listening, you just heard us. First time we ever had a conversation, and hopefully you guys will pick up the phone or pick up email and reach out to him, because great conversation, man. I enjoyed you being here. Thank you for giving me your time. I'm glad our friend was able to connect us, and thank you for bringing value and talking through some stuff today. And to the audience listening, so glad that you were here today too. And check out the next one. Jay, thanks again, brother.
Thanks, Heath. That was great. Really appreciate you.